أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من اللعين الشيطان الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا المبعوث رحمة للعالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أرواحنا لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله بما تعملون بصير. أيها الإخوة المؤمنون، أيتها الأخوات المؤمنات، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أوصيكم عباد الله ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل والورع عن محارمه واجتناب عما نهى عنه. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this great opportunity to be here today on this day of Friday and to remind each other of this important obligation, that is to try and establish taqwa in our lives. We extend on this day our condolences to the Imam of our time, Al-Imam Al-Hujjah Al-Muntadhar Al-Mahdi, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Al-Sharif, as well as to the Maraji of Taqleed, to the scholars, to the Mu'minun across the globe, on the occasion of the martyrdom anniversary of the 11th Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. For it is on such a day that this holy Imam passed away and left this world. We'll speak a little bit about him and about Imamat and some of his wise sayings, inshallah ta'ala, towards the end of our second sermon. I have started with this verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is verse number 233. This is the last part of this verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. So be careful of your duties to Allah. Be conscious about Allah. Take care about yourselves in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have taqwa, have this fear. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ, and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bima ta'maluna basir. That Allah is fully aware of what you do. Bima ta'maluna basir. So nothing is hidden from Allah. All that we do is in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bima ta'maluna basir. So Allah does not wait for a certain report to be taken to Him. He doesn't wait for the malaika to present their records about our a'mal. He is a witness to whatever we do. As we read in Dua al-Kumail, وَكُنْتَ أَنْتَ الشَّاهِدَ عَلَيَّ مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ. So, O Allah, you are a witness on me, behind them, behind the malaika, while the malaika are busy recording our deeds and our a'mal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself is the witness. كُنْتَ أَنْتَ الشَّاهِدَ عَلَيَّ مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ. This is why it's so important that we try and remember our position to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the times. Remember the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the times. Try and take care of ourselves in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not hidden from us. He is always present with us. Amirul Mu'minin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, in advising us, he says, ittaqullaha fil khalawat. Be careful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your own private sessions, in your own privacy, when you are alone, when no one is watching on you. Ittaqullaha fil khalawat. Be careful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنَّ الشَّاهِدَ هُوَ الْحَاكِمُ. Because verily, the one who is a witness himself is going to be a judge. So he is observing and seeing everything that you're doing, and he is going to judge you. فَإِنَّ الشَّاهِدَ هُوَ الْحَاكِمُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us here, ittaqullah wattaqullah, be careful of Allah. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And know that Allah is aware, Allah is perceiving everything that you are doing. And because we are in a day of mourning, in a day we remember the death of one of the holiest persons in the universe, a divine Imam, I would like us to draw lessons on taqwa, on wara, from his sayings, from his life. Because their life is the light, their life is guidance. Everything that they did was a guidance for us. Every word that came from them is a light, is hikmah, is wisdom. So when you study and listen carefully to what they say, you get guided. And today, I will focus in the two sermons on some of the sayings that have been reported from the 11th Imam, Al-Imam Al-Hasan bin Ali Zaki Al-Askari salawatullah salamu alayhim ajma'in. So, in relation to wara', in relation to taking caution and being careful towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his sayings is, awra'u nas, the person who has more wara', the person who has more taqwa, the person who is more careful. Awra'u nas. Who is that person? Man waqafa 'inda shubha. Is the one who stops at shubha. So Imam, in other words, he's telling us that if you want to have wara, and you want to have the highest form of wara, of taking caution and being closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sense, is to stop at shubhat. So what is shubha? Shubha is something that is unclear. It is not known whether this thing is haram or it's halal. What is the true face of it? You have some wealth in front of you, some property in front of you, you have some food in front of you, anything, and you do not know whether this food or this thing that is presented to me, is it halal or is it haram? There is shak, there's doubt in it. So there is shubha. It's all clear. Its matter is not clear. A person who is careful towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person who is cautious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will not assume and consume whatever is put in front of him and find out later, as many people do. Sometimes people run away from inquiring, from asking. They want to remain in a state of confusion so that they are not responsible. Somehow they run away from finding out the truth about the things that are in front of them. Okay? Because after knowing, they will be held responsible. So better not to be knowledgeable about it, to remain in darkness, so they think they will be safer in that way. Muttaqi, a person who is taqi, who is fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is careful about his status and his position to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will not just enter into such things. will stop. Will stop and ask. Will try and find out, is this thing halal or this haram? Is it right to do this thing or not? Is it right to eat this food or not? Is it acquired from the lawful means or not? He will stop there and try and find out, because he is alert. He is not negligent. His mind is very much alert and awake. Just like if you are moving on a road, you will not just move without taking caution of the potholes and some bumps and all that. He's cautious. You take caution. So al-wari', a person who has taqwa, takes care, stops and thinks, stops and asks, makes inquiry and all that. So he says, awra'i nas, the person who has more care about Allah, that is a person who has more taqwa and who is more cautious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will make us stop. أورع الناس من وقف عند الشبهة. So if a person takes care of not entering into shubhat, it is easier for him to avoid muharramat, things that are clearly haram. If he takes care of not doing shubhat, then of no doubt he will not enter into muharramat, because muharramat are then clear to him, known to him. And he will not leave out those which are wajibat, which are fara'il, because he is aware of it. Because he takes care and asks and finds out. This is also emphasized upon in a hadith. Da' ma yuribuka ila ma yuribuk. Leave out that gives you a doubt, and take that which does not give you a doubt. Follow that which is clear to you. In another hadith, فَمَنْ تَرَكَ الشُّبْهَاتِ, whoever left out things that are unclear, naja min al-muharramat, will be safe from muharramat, from those which are prohibited. وَمَنْ أَخَذَ بِالشُّبْهَاتِ. So if a person doesn't care about shubhat, he doesn't want to find out whether it is halal for him or haram for him, irtakaba al-muharramat, then it is very easy for him to fall into what is muharram, what is prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In another hadith, al-umur thalathat, matters are of three categories. Amrun bayyin laka rushdu, something that is clear to you. It has been made very clear that there's guidance in it. فَاتَّبِعُهُ, then follow it. That which you have found to be very clear to you, there's no doubt about it, take it and follow it. وَأَمْرٌ بَيِّنٌ لَكَ غَيُّهُ, and something that it is misguidance is clear also to you. You have been given guidance to understand this is batil, this is evil. فَاجْتَنِبْهُ, then turn away from it. Don't do it. وَأَمْرٌ اخْتُلِفَ فِيهِ, and there is something which is not clear. It's not clear whether it's correct, it's incorrect, it's right, it's not correct, it's not right. فَرُدَّهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ, turn it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is here that our maraji', our scholars, exercise precaution in such matters when it comes to things which are not very clear. So they try to find out the guidance about it. And if not, that's why they exercise precaution. Say, on precautional basis, you are not allowed to do this, or you should do this and that, to exercise precaution. And that is why it comes there. Imam Hassan al-Askari salawatullah salamu alayhi says, أَوْرَعُ النَّاسِ مَنْ وَقَفَ عِنْدَ الشُّبْهَةِ. So a person who has got wara, who has got taqwa, who has the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stops it, things that are unclear, things that are not known whether they are haram or halal. أَعْبَدُ النَّاسِ, the person who is a greater worshipper, Maybe we have in our minds a person who is considered to be greatest in worship, in ibadah, is what? The person who prays a lot, who fasts a lot, who does so many other things which are mustahabat and all. This is a'bad nas. Imam says, a'bad nas man aqama ala al-fara'id. The greatest worshipper is the one who establishes fara'id, wajibat. He carries out his obligations. He doesn't leave out his duties. Those things that are wajib, he doesn't miss them out. And sometimes we might be people who are interested in many mustahabbat, doing many recommended acts. But on the other side, we leave out some matters that are considered to be wajib, fara'id. We see a lot of pleasure in mustahabbat, but we are not careful about some wajibat. And in some cases, some mustahabbat are not accepted if one does not carry out the wajib. For example, a person should not indulge in fasting mustahab if he has qada, which is wajib. So you have to, first of all, complete your wajib fasting, then do the mustahab fasting. And you can learn from that other things also. You have prayers which you have missed. Instead of doing a lot of mustahab prayers, carry out the qada of those wajibat prayers. Pray those qada because you are going to be asked about them. You don't be asked about mustahabat. Don't give out sadaqah, charity, give out zakat and khums. You may give sadaqah, is good. It has a lot of benefits, no doubt. Okay, but the priority is what? Is khums, is zakat, is wajibu nafaqah. You are supposed to spend on your family, to take care of your family, to give their needs. You can neglect them and give out sadaqat to other people. You can't live giving zakat on the account of giving out charity. You can't live out homes on the account of giving out sadaqah. You have the rights of the people, then you have to pay the rights of the people, the debts. So if a person, for example, indulges in doing those mustahabat things, they're not going to help him to avoid those things which are wajibat. So Imam says, Abadun Nas, the greatest worshipper is the one who carries out his wajibat, al-fara'id, because he is going to be asked about those things. He's accountable to those things. Before carrying out any extra thing, he has to make sure that the wajib is done. Then you can take care of the mustahabbat. Then he says, Ashadun Nas, asceticism, a person who is said to have turned away from the pleasures and desires of this world. Other Zahid. There's a beautiful trait, not to be enslaved by this world and its pleasures, not to be following the last desires and the beauties of this world and become a slave of it. But this concept needs to be understood well, especially when it comes to zuhud. Our Imam alayhi salam have taught us the true meaning of zuhud. And in some of their guidances, they tell us, as zuhud, to be a person of asceticism, doesn't mean that you do not own anything. On the contrary, you can own so many things. You can be rich and wealthy. And Islam, we can see on the other side, encourages people to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, to be people with dignity and respect and all that. Doesn't want people to be beggars and to be fuqara and masakin. Islam doesn't want it. Imam Amirul Mu'minin Salatullah Salamu alayhi says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. لو كان الفقر رجلا لقتلته. If poverty was presented to me in the form of a person, of a human being, I would have killed it. So Islam doesn't want poverty. So asceticism is not equal or equivalent to accepting poverty. But it's a deliberate kind of behavior in a person or attitude that makes him not to be enslaved by the world, by anything that he owns. And sometimes we own things which in the true perspective, they own us. We become servants of those things. Instead of them serving us, we serve them. And we do everything for them, instead of them doing it for us. Our Imam alayhi salam have told us differently. That zuhud, there's a zuhud, and la tamlika shay, bal zuhud and la yamlikuka shay. So you are free from everything. Now, Al-Imam Al-Hasan Askar Salatullah Salamu alayhi tells us here that the highest level of zuhud is what? He says, Azhadun nas man tarakal haram. You know, the highest level of zuhud is not that you have left out halal. Okay, on the contrary, some of us would understand that is to avoid and abandon certain things which are halal. No, Imam says, zuhud, the greatest form of zuhud is to abandon haram. Man taraka al-haram, be away from muharramat, and you are considered to be azhad nas. All those things that are halal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made them for you, permissible for you. قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَهَا لِعِبَادِهِ. So tell them, who made it haram, the beauties of this world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided for his ibad. It is for you. He has cared for them for you. He just wants one small thing from you, that you do not enter into muharramat. Avoid those things that he has made haram. Azhadun nas man taraka al-haram. Jayyid. Ashaddun nas ijtihadan. Now, the person who is so hardworking, to Imam, who is he? Man huwa ashaddun nas ijtihadan. Okay. Ijtihad is to give effort. So the most hardworking person in Islam is who? He says, ijtihad, the greatest form of ijtihad is man taraka dhunub. That you make an effort to avoid all sins. That's the greatest ijtihad. Now, if you look in depth, all these meanings, they drive you to understanding the philosophy in whatever we do. And sometimes we may carry out certain things and embrace certain meanings which in reality they are away from what we have been asked to do. And if you look at them, they give you the gist of what it is to practice a true message of Islam. So when you look at this last sentence, for example, that the greatest form of ijtihad, of giving an effort, of hard working, is to refrain from sins, teaches you what? That if a person is able to control himself, to avoid all forms of sins, he has reached the highest level of his iman. And this comes with an effort, because it's not an easy thing that we can say, avoid all sins and it is done. When you are tested with certain things is when you realize how difficult it could be to avoid and refrain from all types of sins. Hence the Imam tells us that this is the greatest ijtihad. And this is also in line with the hadith that we have read about from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the companions came back from the battle and he welcomed them saying, Marhaban, Marhaban, welcome back all those who have accomplished the less jihad, al-jihad al-asghar. And people are wondering, after fighting, coming face to face with death, with swords and all that, because in those days, jihad, this is what it means. That you come face to face with the enemy. It's not like today one can sit in the house with a remote control and bomb certain city. No, here you have to come face to face with the enemy. And it's death or life. So after all these things that we have engaged in, the Prophet ﷺ says that this is less jihad. So they're asking, what is the greatest jihad then? In our mentality, we'll think maybe there's a greater battle that is waiting for us. There is going to be a war that we will have to prepare more for it. The Prophet ﷺ, when he's asked about this jihad, greatest jihad, he says, jihadun nafs, is fighting with the self, trying to put yourself under the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being in control of your desires. This is the greatest jihad. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Here is the loss, here is the gain. You'll be able to control yourself, you have gained. You are successful. You lose it there, then you have lost it. قَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Whoever neglects it, he has lost it. This is it. So Imam tells us here that the greatest form of ijtihad is in living out the dhunub. And this is one of the great lessons that we learn. And you can see how beautiful is their words, how deep is their wisdom. And when you take just one line of their sayings, it brings light into your way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq that to be able to understand, follow their path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq that to be able to practice what they tell us and to keep the wasiyya. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من اللعين الشيطان الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. Ibadallah, usikum wa nafsi bi taqwallahi azza wa jal. Once again, I do remind myself and all of you to try and maintain taqwa throughout our lives, to try and enhance our faith through different ways. One of the ways of improving on our iman is engaging in reading, finding out books that are useful and read. As we have said many times, there is no way we can come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without ma'rifah, without knowledge. يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises those who have believed amongst you and those who have been given knowledge, darajat, many ranks and many levels. We should not deprive ourselves of the reward of the hereafter for those who will have knowledge. We should not deprive ourselves of the sweetness and the joy of having knowledge and getting ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the darurat of deen. It's a great dhulm to ourselves to deprive ourselves of ma'rifah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us all the tools to search for ma'rifah. And I would urge and encourage every mu'min to try and engage in searching of knowledge, in reading. This is a culture that we have abandoned. It's interesting that the people on whom Iqra was revealed, they are no longer reading. So the first verse that we talk about of the revelation of the Prophet is what? Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. All of us, we agree on that. But نحن قوم لا نقرأ. We are people who do not read. We like watching, listening. That's why it's still not very bad. But most importantly is to read. To read for better understanding. To try and answer questions that they are always coming to our hearts. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put the thirst of knowledge in us. It's not from outside. For sure, every one of us has questions that he asks about himself. You are not taught what to ask. Just like we feel hunger, we feel thirst, it's the same thing. We have questions that go around in our minds. And we need ma'rifah to seek for them. And one greatest source that we have been given for ma'rifah, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to save ourselves, to